Japanese has a reputation for being hard to learn, but one aspect of the language most people agree is simple would be its sounds. Most Japanese syllables are entirely made up of one consonant followed by one vowel, and for English speakers at least, none of its sounds feel too unfamiliar and are easy to pronounce, albeit imperfectly without practice. However, there's a lot more going on underneath the surface of Japanese phonology, so today, we're discussing the sounds of Japanese in detail. The basic vowels of Japanese are a, I, e, and o, and the basic consonants are ka, ga, sa, za, ta, da, na, ha, ba, pa, ma, ya, ra, and wa. This is the order these sounds are listed in for Japanese kana, which is actually based on the vowel and consonant order of Sanskrit. These consonants never appear at the ends of syllables. One Japanese consonant that does is the nasal coda n, and forms a part of all phonemic consonant clusters. While it's a uvular ng by itself, it assimilates to m before pa and ba as in kanpai, alveolar n before ta, da, za, and ra as in gendai, and ng before ka and ga as in renga, and a nasalized velar approximate before pretty much all other sounds, including vowels. There are also glides ya, yo, and yu, which can appear after all consonants except wa and ya, and you could count those as clusters if your heart desires. While consonants rarely cluster, vowels appear next to each other all the time in Japanese. Whenever two or more vowels come next to each other, they're pronounced consecutively but not in the same syllable like if they were diphthongs or triphthongs. So this here is pronounced kai and not kai. If two of the same vowel are in a row, then they're often pronounced as a single long vowel, compared oki with short vowels and oki with long vowels. Not only can Japanese vowels be long, but consonants can be long too. They're called geminated consonants, or doubled consonants, whichever terminology you prefer. Voiceless obstruents ka, sa, ta, and pa can all be geminated, in words like data, ippai, and sachi. These all involve a coda obstruent phoneme in the middle, written with a little tsu kana. And whenever it rarely appears at the end of a word, it's pronounced as a glottal stop. And when the coda nasal comes before ma or na, it geminates those consonants as well. Now is a good time to mention something I've been neglecting so far: palatalization. Before I and the glides ya, yo, and yu, consonants become palatalized. Usually the consonant doesn't change beyond adding palatalization, but ta changes further to tia, sa becomes xia, na becomes nya, and ha becomes hya, in words like ichi, ishi, wani, and hito. Historically, da palatalized to ja, while za palatalized to jia, but they've since merged and became allophones in most Japanese dialects, being pronounced as an affricate ja at the starts of words and after the coda nasal, but it's usually a fricative xia between vowels. The coda nasal assimilates into a nya sound, one coming before palatalized affricates tia and jia. Japanese doesn't have a typical u sound, instead it's an unrounded I, and it has the effect of turning preceding ta and ha into tsa and fa. It also turned da into za, but that sound merged with za, again becoming a fricative between vowels but remaining as an affricate elsewhere. I is pronounced as the central I after sa, za, and ta, as in s, z, and ts, and is also pronounced this way after palatalized consonants. But do you know what's never palatalized? LingoPie. It's a language learning service and not a sound, so it obviously can't be palatalized, but that's besides the point. LingoPie is a streaming service catered specifically to meet the needs of language learners. You can use it to study and learn languages through gaining exposure to authentic TV shows, movies, music, audiobooks, podcasts, and the like. LingoPie is currently available for 9 languages and has over 3,000 movies and TV shows available to immerse yourself with, and is one of the largest foreign language content catalogs out there. There are plenty of tools to help with the process of learning languages. There's a variety of speeds that you can listen to media in, the option to use subtitles in both your native language and target language at the same time, as well as an option that highlights words that are new for you. LingoPie keeps track of which words you've learned through it, and allows you to easily review through quizzes, flashcards, and games. If this sounds great to you, then sign up using my creator link in the description of this video to sign up for a free 7-day trial and get a whole 55% off an annual subscription as well. Now back to talking about Japanese sounds. You may have noticed that I've barely said the word syllable. That's because a more useful unit of sounds for describing Japanese are moras. A mora is typically made of exactly one vowel, with consecutive vowels all being part of separate moras. So ko is only made up of one mora, but ko is made up of 2. In words like sakana, syllables and moras are the same, but this isn't always the case. the nasal coda counts as its own mora, and so does the first consonant in geminated pairs. So kanji and yatta both have 3 moras despite only having 2 syllables. The reason why moras are so important in Japanese phonology is because of pitch accent. All Japanese moras, not syllables, can have either a high pitch or a low pitch, determined by one of 4 patterns. The most common pattern, especially in native Japanese words, is heibang, where the first mora has a low pitch while all the following moras have a high pitch. Odaka is the same as heiban, except that any suffixes have a low pitch, whereas in heiban they have a high pitch. Atamataka is the opposite of heiban, where the first mora is high-pitched and the rest are low. Finally, there's nakataka, which has one or more mora in the middle with a high pitch, but the beginning and ending moras are both low. To give a spoken demonstration, here's suika and kawa for heiban and odaka respectively, which when suffixed become suikaga and kawaga. Then for atamataka, an example is umi, and for nakataka, there's izumi. These could be analyzed as having upsteps, which are when a low-pitched mora is followed by a high-pitched one, or downsteps, when a high-pitched mora is followed by a low one. Atamataka has a downstep, heiban has an upstep, odaka has an upstep and a downstep if the word is followed by a particle or suffix, and nakataka always has an upstep followed by a downstep. The vast majority of native Japanese nouns follow the heiban pattern, while they make up a much smaller percentage of Sino-Japanese words, and especially in European loanwords. So while you can kind of assume native Japanese words are heiban unless you learn otherwise, this isn't the case for loanwords. Also to all Japanese learners, if you're just starting out and you want to eventually gain a natural Japanese accent, be sure to learn a word's pitch pattern when encountering it for the first time. You have no idea how much I wish I could go back and do this. Anyways, one trait that makes Japanese stick out is vowel devoicing, where vowels become voiceless and sound pretty much silent, but are pronounced regardless. This can occur whenever the vowels I or U come after a voiceless consonant and before another voiceless consonant or appear at the ends of a word, like in des, mas, and shikashi. Typically this occurs when the I or U sound has a low pitch, but there are some cases where a high-pitched mora has a devoiced vowel. There's a lot more variation with Japanese consonants as well. For one, the rhotic is most often a tap, ra, but after the nasal coda it's different. To steal from Wikipedia, this sound is described variably as a tap, a variant of ra, a kind of weak plosive, and an affricate with short friction. For an audible reference, compare shiro with shindo. It's also often pronounced as a lateral in all contexts, either as an approximate la or a tap ra. For some speakers, voiced stops ba, da, and ga may be softened to fricatives va, the, and ra, especially between vowels. For others, ga may be pronounced variably as a velar nasal nga. The moras t and d don't occur in native Japanese words since those sounds shifted to chi and ji respectively, but t and d have reappeared in loanwords from European languages, and even sometimes contrast like with the distinction between ti and chi. And while fa and tsa only occur before in native Japanese words, they've also started appearing before other vowels in loanwords, like in feri and motsaruto. This may be a whole lot to take in, but I didn't make this video to discourage people from learning Japanese. While its phonology isn't the most simple in the world, and while it takes a bitch to master pronouncing words perfectly, these complexities just make Japanese richer and more interesting of a language to learn. Real quick, I'm hosting a multilingual writing competition where you can participate in 23 languages, including Japanese, and English obviously. It's called LingoTWOW, and while it's already started, late signups have opened, so you can still join for a whole week after this video comes out. Here's a blob of text if you're curious about it, and there will be links in the description as well. Thank you to all my Patreon supporters, Furoist, Dope Kid, Andrew Brown, Rosetta Stevens, Sunder, Erica Sim, Adam Drinek, Kiki Dion, Teo Tamara, Luke Jensen, Alexis Esqueres, Vadim, and Carol Soul. And until next time, matane!